That's the first question.
Okay.
I'll go. Okay. Love and Theft sounds like a return to the allegorical material you just soak around the time out of mind. No, I haven't seen the lyric sheets, but to see that's a fair assumption.
Pretty fair.
Could you explain the title to us, please?
The what?
The title of the album, Love and Theft?
Explain it?
Yeah. Or could you? Does it refer to one of the songs or to the general atmosphere?
Probably, yeah.
Can I rephrase it?
Sure.
Love and theft are synonymous or opposite concepts?
Are they what?
Synonymous or opposite concepts? Are they
No.
mean the same?
I would.
Or do they mean the
I know.
opposite?
I don't think of them as contrary. No.
Not contrary? Not contrary?
No.
Love and theft are the same.
I don't think there's opposite ends of the line. No. Do you?
For me, they are the same.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to steal something for someone.
Exactly. That's just what I said.
Yeah. Would you say they go hand in hand?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like fingers in a glove.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you enjoy to be in Rome?
Oh yeah.
You have been often here in Rome.
Pretty regular, huh?
You write a song also, which
Quite a few.
I paid my master's.
Exactly.
You speak exactly of this place.
This is it.
If I remember well of Gahr this time.
Spanish steps.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Spanish steps.
Yeah. What's it with us?
Sorry.
With
Would you say this is the first record of yours that people can dance to? I mean, this is we've listened to it now all morning, and
You've been dancing all morning?
everyone was like, shilling to it.
Yeah. Oh.
Generally listen to your records. This is something that
I know.
barroom
Well,
feel.
I'm sorry about that.
No, it's a compliment.
It is? Oh, okay.
Was it one of the intentions to make it swing and?
like a happy album.
No. I can't say that, no.
But you seem to have returned to the music of your youth, the 40s and the 50s, the Western swing, the rockabilly, and these things, and those are forms that Bob Dylan has not utilized before. Was this a conscious attempt on your behalf?
No. Most of the songs have, some traditional roots to them. If not all of them.
Since there's no producer credit, was it an album you produced with the band in the studio, or are you the producer de facto?
Well, exactly, yeah.
The song High Water is for Johnny Pat.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a reference to High Water Everywhere.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
What is your relationship to the music of Johnny Pat?
Oh, that's some of my favorite. He's one of my favorite performers.
Can you hear the sound of Charlie Patton or Robert Johnson or the old blues players, Brian Billy Johnson, are referring to him as well? Do you think that these guys have got too little respect in American cultural history?
Maybe 30 years ago, but wasn't there a Robert Johnson record? Came out a few years ago that displayed his music to quite a few people who maybe weren't aware of it. When I first heard him, I was given that record before it was even released by the man who kind of discovered me at the record company, John Hammond, who gave me that record before it was even released. And no one had heard of Robert Johnson then, outside of maybe a dozen people in all of America.
60s?
Huh?
50s, 60s?
Early 60, about 1961. They were about to release it.
Was it a shock to hear that voice?
Um,
What was the feeling?
no one had heard him. People had only heard the records that were reissued on labels, rural labels at that time, and you could find a song by this person or that person on all the different records, which actually weren't that many. But I think this was the first record where everything was by one singular performer, which had taken years and years to put that together.
It seems to be a very happy record.
Huh?
It seems to be a very happy record.
The Robert Johnson?
No, your one.
My record.
Yeah.
Oh, Love and Theft.
Still.
Exactly.
A lot of the music seems like good time music from.
Good time music.
Well, 3 or 4 tunes are more or less like swing.
Well,
But the lyrics are very hard.
It's-
rough, I think.
yeah. Producers, when you're working with a producer, they can take you this way or that way on a particular song if you're not determined that it should go a certain way, and in many cases, a lot of my records have been compromised in that way.
Which one would you think?
Most of them, when we play live, on the stage, people would say, "Oh, the song doesn't sound like it did on the record, or doesn't go that particular way." Well, of course not, because that way was never the way it should be really perceived anyway.
So is this the first real Dylan record?
Huh?
So is this the first real Dylan record then, without any?
Excuse me?
Is this the first real Dylan record then, without any?
Oh no, I've produced. I mean, I wouldn't call myself a record producer, but if you have a singular vision, there's nothing really a producer can do to help you.
It came out like you wanted it.
Huh?
So is it the first time it came out on record like you wanted it to sound?
Well, I don't know about this audio part of it, but as far as all the arrangements go, yeah.
Did you catch the songs at a certain point in their history, and do the arrangements still vary and evolve? And does this record document a certain moment in these songs and their lifetime?
No. These songs really weren't written when we recorded them. They were written earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So I had the idea in my mind for months and months before everything was pretty set.
I noticed your voice sounds much darker than the last record, for example.
Excuse me?
Your voice sounds much darker and blacker than the last
Well,
record.
if in my case, you can. I've never been recorded that properly. For excuse me?
What was wrong?
Well, usually when it comes to me, whoever is operating the controls is just thinking, well, this is a Bob Dylan record, this is a Bob Dylan song. So they're not really thinking about what I particularly sound like. And one person who was working with me earlier on did a whole entire record with me, and then realized that he used the wrong mics on me, and for a variety of reasons. A great one would be that my vocal range would fall into the exact line of another instrument that would be playing on every song, and so there's a presence tug of war there.
But do you think it's hard to record your voice?
I don't think so. I really don't. And on this particular record, we had a young guy who understood how to do it. I don't think anybody really has understood how to record me, which is no fault of theirs, really. But on the last, what was the last record we put out? I think my vocal track was Tricked Up, with effects and that put on after, and to make it sound like I actually did sound.
So would you say that?
Well, they take highs and they take lows off, and my particular vocal range just goes. It subverts the system, and it always has actually.
The producers
I don't know why.
that are working for you are also kind of prisoners of the Bob Dylan myth.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, I find that to be an unbearable problem when sometimes people you can feel they're uncomfortable.
Do you think there's a very set standard of recording preconceptions about what voices should sound like?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Your voice and Leonard Cohen's voice and Lou Reed's voice are not the way voices should be.
Well, I don't know about Lou's and Leonard's, but I think Leonard's would be a little bit more understandable to somebody because of where his vocal range is, like, so down, so that you can only do so much with it anyway. Lou sort of talks and sings at the same time, and I don't really think that would present a problem for anybody who's recording.
But it's not what you consider normally a good singer, a crooner, or something like that. The three of you.
Well, I really don't know, but I've said it before that the best way to record me or even deal with what I do is a more antiquated system. I would better served by that system where rather than stereo mono, whether it's analog or stereophonic or whatever. I'm served the simpler way better.
You certainly seem to stretch yourself, and it sounds like Poor Boy. We sort of go, as high notes, and it's kind of unexpected of you to, on that chorus when you go really high, sort of jazz inflection. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do know what you're talking about, but that song sort of plays itself. I mean, I have to sing that way, that on that particular song, because that's a song that can exist without any lyric. It exists just on chord structures, and with no instrumentation except maybe a minimalistic guitar playing it, and the lyrics are just trying to stay in the path and and not not to lay too much emotional rhetoric here or there. But as far as how to sing that, you have to sing it that way. I mean, it's just not going to come off,
Do you think the success of the Time Out of Mind, the album, in a sort of way, in a way reflected the way you did this album?
I haven't listened to that Time Out of Mind album for a long time. I very rarely listen to the records that I make.
Yeah, but I mean, more like you said around that time that you gotten used to being slagged off for your records and the concerts misrepresented, and then you got
I don't know what I said at that time, but you can really don't pay any attention to what I mean, why would you? I mean, I something you wrote 5 years ago. I mean, should we pay attention to that? I mean,
to have a success like that, does it change your sense of confidence in what you do, or do you just keep on doing what you would have done anyway?
I would just do it, yeah. I mean, I'm fortunate that I have an audience. I don't know if I'd do it if I didn't have an audience.
The audience is growing. It seems like. Does it wonder you that after all these years, there's still young people going to get the
well,
again?
People of my age equation, or they either die or they fade away or they get.
They don't stay with you.
Well, some do, but not very many, because they, at a certain time in a person's life, they start to have families and have different priorities rather than light entertainment, which is basically. I don't consider myself in light entertainment, but I deal in the light entertainment arena.
But you are not like that.
I don't think so. No.
Listen to the record. The impression this is very fresh sound. I mean that listen to the record that was imagined to the public, like you were playing in front of the public. That was the intention.
Yeah, this is not a record for me. I mean, if I wanted to make a record for me, I'd record Charlie Patton songs. You know,
is this sort of your version of the two blues albums that you published in the beginning of the 90s?
Excuse me?
Is this the Dylan version of the blues albums that you published in the beginning of the 90s?
No, I just use blues formats or either 12-bar formats that are altered somewhat, or Elizabethan ballads that are deconstructed. I just use those as forms.
It seems like this is the record that it's a record that has influences from all the American roots music, Western swing, jazz, blues. But the smallest part of influence from roots music is folk music. It seems to me like it's after doing Well Gone Wrong and Good As I've Been to You, which are the deepest folk records you've done since 63.
Well, what you call folk music is really fundamentally there at the on the ground level, really.
Yeah, I'm talking more about the arrangements, I suppose. No?
The arrangements are as just they're as tight as can be, and that's that was all done intentionally. There really isn't any superfluous playing on it.
Right. Oh yeah.
And actually, I wanted to accomplish that.
Who else is on this record apart from your wife band?
Excuse me?
Who else are on this record?
I'd have to look at the labels to tell you. I mean, my memory is just, my memory is just so,
For instance, who plays
gets a little froggy.
Right.
You're still saying about the American rural hillbilly high water is a cryptic vision from sort of the hills of or the swamps of Mississippi, or is it possible to recreate that fear that was in that old blues?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think whatever time you're born and raised in, and has a tremendous influence on whatever your personal and private life is, and it's not the same these days, as we can look in books of historical value and see that it was just a different world.
But it's no less apocalyptic in a way.
Apocalyptic?
The world we live in is also in a way a place to fear.
A place to
fear.
A place to fear.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, fear everywhere. Absolutely. Yeah, but I don't know if it's ever been any different. But there's a lot more. There's a lot more of what you say. Probably. There's a lot more of what you say. Fear? Is that what you say, or did I misunderstand that?
Yeah. I mean, what's a lot of fear in the old blues in Robert Johnson's songs? Fear.
Well, I don't think we're buying fear. Fear doesn't really buy you too much.
Does that have anything to do with something which I believe you have said, that the songs don't have any genetic history? Don't you think they have a genetic history? Don't you feed on what you have wrote and others have written before you too? That genetic code that goes on from generation to generation?
Possibly, but I mean, you still can't get around the fact that A square equals B square equals C square. So, well, what are we talking about?
Yeah, but aren't you a son of, and a great son of, and a grandson of many writers, and of your own past history as a songwriter? don't all the songs in a way descend from the previous ones?
Or
is that all bullshit?
Yeah, it is. Completely, yeah. If you check out all the lineage of my records, there are a lot of performers that repeat themselves, and it's fine. But I don't really feel that that's something that I need to do, really.
Do you ever find that you are writing songs that you have written before?
No, I never do that.
That's not what I meant. I meant, isn't there some sort of lineage between the Bob Dylan of the 60s and the 70s and the 80s and the 90s and nowadays? It's all interrupted.
Maybe biologically speaking, but I think so.
Okay.
Do you
I accept that.
Has the way you write songs changed during the years?
The process?
Yes.
I use so many processes that I can't really say I've discovered any new way.
Not very much different from the way you wrote in the 60s.
No, well, I just take notes, jot down this. If I think of something, I put it down. If I find it later, I'll think, put a melody to it, or it's a lot of different ways.
Would you say these songs on Love and Theft are more free association in their imagery, in the way they associate with the music, as opposed to maybe the last album, where the songs are maybe more about the subject? Or would you say the subject was chicken and the egg, subject or the words?
Was the subject?
I'm sorry, I'm over.
Am I an idiot, or am I not understanding?
No, I'm an idiot. I'm sorry. We are French.
I'm trying there. Is this something I should concentrate on? I don't know.
No, it's my fault. My point is, it's from what I've heard of the record, it seems like the images associate with one another and flow in a natural way, rather than the songs being about something specifically and describing a feeling. Sorry.
My avenue of approach on all of it is to just allow it to happen and reject what doesn't seem to fit. I mean, if that makes sense to you.
That's the songwriting process.
Yeah. The songwriting process is a small process of performing. As it happens to be, I write the songs.
What about the process of live concerts? How has that changed over the years? I'm told that you only recently started to use set lists, for instance.
Use
set lists, fixed
set lists.
Yeah.
Set list. I don't know. You mean a list of songs?
Yeah.
A list of songs. We can use a set list, or we don't need one. I guess. I don't know.
Have the process of how you go about concerts have that changed over the years?
I don't think so.
When you go on stage, how much do you know what is going to happen? How much is
pretty much all of it. I usually play to the people in the back. I disregard the people in the front, because usually these people have come to quite a few shows. They're going to be there anyway, and they're going to like what they hear one way or another. So we're not trying to reach them. We're trying to reach the people in the back.
Why that?
So what do you think?
Who might not have been there ever before.
So what do you think about the people who follow each and every?
No, we don't think about these people, because they're always there. We think about the people we've never seen.
Do you feel annoyed by those who come for every show?
No. I mean, they're there.
They're just there.
Yeah.
You play a lot of live gigs. probably a lot more than you used to. Between 66 and 70, you hardly play any at all. Are you happier on stage now than you were back then? And do you like the audience more now than you like the audience back then?
Back then, I assume you talk about when people were either reacting in a kind of a negative way to either, what is it, playing electric or?
No, I don't mean that necessarily. In fact, quite the opposite. They were acting in a messianic kind of way in some ways. But I'm saying now that they go along to see Bob and see some music, and you get off on it as well in the same way.
Oh, I mean, I wouldn't know what's. I wouldn't know.
But do you prefer
People
the
are people,
audience
really.
now than the audiences used to play?
I don't know. I mean, you know, it's really all the same.
What's the reason of these mini shows?
Huh?
What's the reason why you play live so much these days?
I don't think I play live. I may play more than someone you're accustomed to seeing and hearing, who may release a record every a certain amount of time and then do a big tour. Maybe when you add it all up, we play more shows than that. But I'm sure there's people in Europe and in England or I know there are in America who play far more than me.
You wrote these liner notes in World Gone Wrong about the don't be fooled by this never-ending tour business.
Oh, sure. Yeah, well, that's I don't know. It seems to like I think titles belittle whatever it is a person is trying to do, and that kind of like irritated me hearing what I do referred to as that, as if it's I mean, of course everything's going to end,
But there seems to be a line, as far as I understood it, a line in one of the...
Like, why would people think I've been doing a never-ending tour? I mean, it's undoubtedly going to end. I mean, what ties us all together, really, the one basic characteristics of all of us is mortality, and nothing else really makes us similar to each other.
Do you reflect upon mortality a lot?
Well, I wouldn't say a lot, but maybe when people close to you get put in the ground, you kind of.
What about your own mortality?
Well, I mean, I can see myself in others, so that's the way I would think about it. I mean, I wouldn't think about it any more than you would think about yours. I mean, as soon as a person enters the world, they're old enough to leave it.
No, what I mean is the fact that the people you like and are friends of yours are going to die hurts you, and your own mortality hurts the others.
Exactly.
I don't mean to pry, but there's two songs in which the narrator refers to. There's Lonesome Day Blues, which when the character says, "I wish my mother was still alive," and there's Poor Boy, where the character goes, "When my mother died." Was that inspired by your personal?
Probably. Well, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't say. Yeah, I mean, I don't see how it couldn't be.
Right. You didn't block it, or you didn't consciously put it in to sort of.
Some of these lyrics are written like within a stream of consciousness kind of thing. I mean, it's like I don't sit there and dwell on or meditate on each line.
Do you fear analysis from other people? Is that something that you sort of dread?
No. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm not really, I don't know what anybody can find in any of my stuff. I mean, I don't know, analysis, a Freudian analysis, you mean?
Poetic.
Or German idealism, or maybe a Freudian Marxist? I don't know. What?
Portuguese interpretation.
Exactly. Portuguese implication. I like that.
When you say by the future for me is already a thing of the past.
I say that for everyone. I'm a spokesman for a generation.
Okay.
I say that for everyone, for us all. All of it, everyone.
Do you feel comfortable in the world?
Huh?
A spokesmodel, which you have been in the 60s and which you still are. The people look up to you and they want to know what you think about general topics and stuff like this.
Every so often.
when you're on stage and play really old songs, like Some to Woody,
Yeah.
also Bar, what kind, is that more an abstract relationship to your own songs, like written by someone?
Well, I'm glad I wrote that. I'm glad I wrote it, and I'm glad I have that song to sing, because he's still, a phenomenal performer. There is there is some kind of footage of him, movie footage of him singing, and it stands up there with, Charlie Parker, Hank Williams, or anybody of that
But I mean,
high altitude.
generally to your older songs, that it's so far away, that's more a playground to...
No, that's why my songs are all singable. They're current. I mean, something doesn't have to be just a drop out of the sky yesterday to be current. This is the Iron Age. We're living in the Iron Age, but what was the last age? The age of bronze or something? Like we're still we can still feel that age. I mean, if you walk around in this city, people today can't build what you see out there. But at least when you walk around in a town like this, you know that people were here before you, and they were probably on a much higher, grander level than any of us are. I mean, it would just have to be. We couldn't conceive of building these kind of things. America doesn't really have stuff like this,
You read history books?
Huh?
Do you read books about history? Are you interested in that?
Not any more than not any more than just would be natural to do.
I was thinking about asking you a question about precisely Rome, because in an old song of yours, you had a line in which you said, "Inside the museums, history goes up on trial." How does it feel to be here?
Inside museums. Is it history?
History. History goes
I'll
up
sing
on
that song. It doesn't sound right. Inside the museums.
Inside the museums, history goes up on trial.
No.
No? So correct me.
I'm trying to.
It's your song.
Inside the museums.
History goes up on trial.
I don't think that's right. I don't think it's right.
But does it? So what's it?
I'm trying to think. Inside the museum. Yeah, I know where it's from. Inside the museums.
No?
No, it's not. Is it?
I think so.
Inside the museum.
I'm not the writer of the song.
Where's the salvation line?
I don't know.
Salvation is...
You're the writer.
I know.
No, but what I meant is, even if that's not the right quotation,
Doesn't sound right.
how does it?
Doesn't sound right when you say it. Inside the museum history. Is it right? It could be, but I'm not willing to say you are. Not quite yet.
What
Inside
I
the
meant is
museum.
Salvation goes up on trial, isn't it?
I think so.
salvation.
Salvation goes up on trial.
Salvation. Maybe it's right.
No.
No?
No,
Maybe not.
not.
Inside the museums.
I'll tell you what, why don't we'll take a break for a few minutes, everyone can debate.
And let me go look in the book.
And we'll come back
Yeah.
in about 10 minutes.
Okay. All right, gentlemen.
It sounds right. Salvation goes up on trial.
Okay, now we can do the interview.
All right, let's start. It's time to start.
I was wondering if, in the last few years that I've seen you play in Paris, obviously, the look of the band has evolved to sort of, I don't know if it's Tony Garnier's influence, but from you've become this sort of drifting cowboys, kind of Bob Wills and the Texas Playboys outfits, the hats and the suits and the mustaches and everything. Was it just a gradual sort of like common choice, or did you just say, "Hey boys, let's dress up now"?
Well, we kind of dress like people where we're from.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's. I don't know. I'm not really we don't. It's not a fashionable statement of any kind. I'm not aware that it is.
You had your 60th birthday recently, and all the magazines celebrated it.
Yes.
Did you celebrate it?
Me?
Yeah.
Yes, in the usual way. Yeah. Blow out some candles and. That's about it.
Friends, invited some friends.
Yeah, mostly just family people. Yeah.
Are you younger than that now?
Sure hope so. Yeah, that's the way. That's the song. That's correct. You got that right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Does the amount, the level of celebration around such an event, does that bother you? Does it please you?
No.
All these prizes, you never win before, now also.
I know. I win in a lot of stuff. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it?
I think they're catching up on wasted time.
I don't know.
We didn't give him nothing for all these years. Let's just dump all these.
Maybe there's an element of that in it. I wouldn't know.
How do you feel about being nominated for the Nobel Prize?
Yeah, I hear about that, but who would that put me in the company of? I'm not sure.
Hemingway.
Oh, Hemingway. I don't really think. I think all those guys that want to write like Hemingway write for Time magazine, and don't they? Hemingway is this.
Steinbeck, your old favorite.
Huh?
Steinbeck is an old favorite of yours.
Steinbeck?
Steinbeck.
I'm not sure that I really belong in that category of people because I play. That's difficult to say. It's all really pretty relative.
You mentioned that the producers are kind of prisoners of the Bob Dylan. How about yourself, having done so many things, being a legend, a myth, or whatever? How does it affect your daily life?
Well, 95% of the time it doesn't affect my life whatsoever. The other part, you just we who are get involved in fame, we just have to learn to deal with it any kind of way we can.
What kind of strategies are there?
I don't have any strategy for it. I usually try to be as polite as possible.
Do you sometimes wonder why me?
Not at this point. I know what it is I've done to be so famous. So.
But in one of your last conversations with Allen Ginsberg, you said the fame had no redeeming qualities whatsoever. My question is, what would you substitute your fame for?
Huh?
What would you substitute fame with? I mean, if you weren't that famous, you couldn't do the never-ending tour and do the albums you wanted to, the way you wanted to, so forth. I mean, fame must have some advantages.
It probably has quite a few. I don't. I really don't do that. Travel in that world of the rich and famous, though. So I don't really feel I'm part of that culture in any way.
Do you find it hard to go to places where you're not being recognized everywhere?
Well, at this point, I'm recognized just about everywhere. Everywhere.
So when was the last time you went out unrecognized?
I don't even remember.
Do you feel that the work you've done, was it be it poetry or singing or the combination of both, that you've arrived at a certain time that in American history perhaps, where you've been allowed to achieve great fame and a certain degree of fortune? Do you consider this lucky compared to doing the same work, but maybe 30 years before you'd have been an obscure artist? Do you think that the same work that you do, gaining this great exposure through the time that you arrived in, is it a benediction? Is it good? I mean, that your work was exposed so broadly. Do you understand?
Sort of. I didn't really choose to do what it is you see me doing. I mean, it chose me. If I had anything to do with it, I'd have been something different. Maybe a scientist, or engineer, or doctor, or somebody who, those are the people I look up to. I don't really look up to entertainers at all. They don't have any meaning for me one way or another.
You must have had ambition in the beginning, ambition to do something. You said music chose you. You also chose music in that way. You had to.
Maybe.
Can you explain on the "It Chose Me"? That's really interesting.
Well, I said it. That's what I did.
Yeah.
In one of the lines, you obviously say that I've been in trouble ever since I set my suitcase down. Is that the theme for you still?
That's the only line that you remember? That's it?
I was wondering.
That's
I was
it?
wondering whether that's the theme.
Well, what do you want to know? What was in the suitcase?
Interesting, yeah.
Huh? Yeah. I don't know. Or where I set it down. I don't know.
Why did you?
Yeah.
Excuse me. Do you feel good the present time, or you miss something from the past?
Miss?
Miss.
Oh. There must be something, you know. I think I miss plenty, but you know, I'm not really a very nostalgic person, so I don't really yearn for things like that from the past.
Do you have fun?
Hmm?
Do you have fun?
I'm having fun.
Yeah.
Do I have fun?
Yeah.
Like what? Fun. Well, fun. What is fun? Well, like
enjoy life.
kick a football or what is fun? Drink.
Oh, to enjoy life.
I'm here.
Yeah.
I mean, what choice? Is there any choice? I mean,
people have killed themselves.
You sure? But not on their own accord.
No, that might be enough to discussion.
Did you enjoy the Oscar celebration?
Wasn't that something? I wasn't there. I don't know.
Do you think you have ever? Do you agree that at some point you reflected your times? It's been said many times.
I think I always do.
How?
I don't think I could reflect any other period of time than the time I find myself in.
Do you try to reflect or react upon the time that you live in?
Probably the latter.
React.
The latter one. Maybe a bit of both. I don't really know.
Imagine yourself being a newcomer nowadays. Will you have any chance in the business?
Me, as a newcomer? I think so. Because if you have the ability and the knowledge and, you know, and the strength to do it, you know, that's all you really need. And I think I know more about what I'm doing now than I ever... I know I could find a place if that's what I wanted to do, but I don't think I'd want to do it if I come on now. Like I said, I'd do something else.
It surprised a lot of people to see you as part of a band like that.
Really?
Yeah.
It surprised me too.
Do you feel that you're part of a band now?
Me?
The whole crowd of guys that you play with seems there's a good unity. At least when I saw you on stage, there's a good sort of band atmosphere rather than Bob Dylan with his backup, you know, musicians. Maybe that's due to.
Well, I always try to have a current band or current performers with, you know, the ability to play this music. You never know how long you can keep a band together, or when a band will change one individual to another. I mean, those things are unforeseen, you know. But this particular, you know, group is, you know, pretty competent and can go a lot of different ways musically.
How often is it yourself doing this?
I don't really know. I mean, until one day I just might have had it, you know. I don't know. I can't say when the crowds dwindle down because the crowds aren't dwindling down. But I may just one day have had enough.
What keeps you the energy still doing it?
Huh?
What keeps you the energy of still doing it?
The energy?
Yeah.
Well, it's fictitious, the energy. It's a fictional thing. I mean, yeah, it's once you set up certain, like anybody who knows how to do anything or who learns how to do it over a period of time, there's certain strategies, stratagems, codes, techniques that all go that play in a certain way. So once you can set these things up, and you know how to do them, then the energy and emotion, whatever it seems like is happening, it's just a combination that happens in a kind of in a combustible way. But as far as energy goes, it doesn't take energy. The type of energy you're talking about, it's not that kind of energy is being used.
Do you feel like you're still getting better?
I feel I could get better. If you know, if I really put my mind to it.
And I would think, for instance, your singing on the new record might be the best I've heard from you.
Well, it may be, but I don't think I'm singing any better on it than I have in the past. I mean, I may be perceived or recorded, you know, in a better way.
Bob, there's well documented changes in your life, perceived or otherwise, if it's real or not. One of them, end of part one for a lot of people, was sort of after a lot of time on stage and after bringing it all back home, Highway 61 and Blonde, you had a motorbike accident. Whether it was as exaggerated or as real as you might make it out to be, did that allow you to change and be different or be yourself and not be on the treadmill? Or did it make you not be on the treadmill?
And what was the question?
The question basically is when John Wesley Harding came out, say, a few years later, people said this is a different Dylan. It was a time of love and peace, etc. It was completely different than anything else. Did that allow you, the motorbike accident, to sort of change, or did it change you? Did it change you? Like around the same time George Harrison was flying back from Candlestick Park, he said, I'm never playing with the Beatles again. This is just madness. Can't hear anything on stage, don't know what the Beatles are doing. And they never did play again. You kind of got off the treadmill. Was that a conscious decision? And you kind of used the motorbike accident, which maybe wasn't as bad as...
Well, it's difficult for me to pinpoint any time where I made any conscious decision to do this or that. But obviously, I mean, that period of time you're talking about, I just didn't feel like going out and play. I didn't feel like I was part of that culture.
When you said earlier you don't necessarily look up to celebrities or people who are currently in the business or whatever, you did get on very well with Bono in the early 1980s. Did you tell him that because of what you knew in Greenwich Village, say, from Brendan B and Tommy Macon and the Atlantis, etc., maybe he should be looking back at that kind of music because it's obviously in his blood?
I could have. I don't remember verbatim or time and place, but I mean, if I'm being held responsible for telling him that, I don't really know that I could deny that.
Do you look for inspiration in poetry still? Are you still eagerly looking for poets that you may not have heard of or read yet? Or do you go back to the ones that have influenced you, like maybe Rimbaud or somebody?
You know, I don't really study poetry or
I didn't mean that.
Yeah.
You're still moving
But,
this, but
Are you searching in the literary world?
Yeah?
So are you searching for new writers to...
New writers? Well, yeah, but I just don't think there are any. Because we live in a different time. The media is all pervasive. What can a writer think of to write that you don't see every day, you know, in a newspaper or on television or huh?
There are emotions that need to be expressed.
Yeah, but the media is moving people's emotions anyway. It's, you know, when these guys you're talking about, when Rimbaud was writing, or William Blake, or you know, or Shelley or Byron, or any of those people, there probably wasn't any media, just bulletins, and you could feel free, you know, to you know, put down anything, you know, that came into your mind.
But don't you feel free when you are writing?
Huh?
Don't you feel free when you are writing? You are writing in this time.
Well, like I say, I don't particularly sit down and write. It's my lines go into songs, and they have a certain structure, and they have to conform to a certain idiom, and they're not free form, and there's no point to trying to throw in some ideological type of thing to. Well, you can't do it in a song.
You've done it.
A song cannot do it.
You've done it.
I've done it. If I've done it, I did it de facto, you know. But I've never intentionally started out to, you know, with that in mind. I mean, I never have. Maybe some others have, but I haven't.
But do you think that TV and the media have killed poetry and literature because?
Oh, absolutely.
You think so?
Absolutely. Because because even literature is written for an audience. You know, it's not written. One man doesn't sit down and like everybody's in a Kafka. Sit down and write something, you know, that should never be seen by. You don't want anybody to see. You know, most people sit down. They want people to see it. They want people to read it. You know, they want a person's reaction. They want some type of acceptance. But if
all writers have wanted that.
Yeah, of course. But the media is doing that for everybody now. They're and movies and TV and I mean, you can't see any more horrific things than you see on the media, especially in the news. I'm just talking about the news department, which is showing people absolutely everything they've ever even dreamed about. You know, even thoughts that they might think and suppress for, you know, forever. They'll see it in the media, so you can't suppress those things anymore. Now, what's a writer to do? If every idea is exposed in the media before he can get to it or let it evolve, what's a writer going to write about?
In the liner notes to Well Gone Wrong, you were talking about I'll show you the real alternative lifestyle, the agrarian one. Do you think that's one of the solutions, perhaps? Or
well, I think so, but it's quite difficult with you know, corporate entities paying, you know, farmers not to grow things. It becomes a problem.
Is that one of the issues that still move you? Is that one of the issues that still move you enough to?
Well, yeah, I'm partial to the land, so you know, I kind of, you know,
But in the same liner notes, it's referring to in the Work Gone Wrong, you talk about the new dark ages as being the contemporary world.
Well, the Stone Age. May I put it that way? Yeah, we've got we talk about these ages before the Golden Age, which was, you know, I guess the age of Homer, and then we got the Silver Age. Then you got the Bronze Age. I think you have a heroic age someplace in there, and then you got what we're living in, what people call the Iron Age, but it could really be the Stone Age. We could be living in the Stone Ages.
Maybe in the Silicon Age.
Exactly.
Did you check out the internet?
Silicon Valley, huh?
Do you go on the internet?
Do I go on the internet?
Yes.
I'm afraid to go on the internet. I'm afraid some pervert's gonna lure me somewhere. You know?
As if you needed to
yeah.
interplace.
Yeah.
Do you but don't you think that the emotions and the fears and that basically love and religion and, you know, the basic emotional feelings that humans have are the same since the Romans or since the Egyptians? Pretty much people look for the same thing. People look for a connection to another human being,
well,
connection to a higher being.
Probably, but everybody knew their role and their place. The class system was different in a Roman age. Plus, you know, you could...
Was that good?
I don't know, I wasn't there.
Really? Are you sure?
You know it. You especially. Because you weren't there with me.
But there seems to be
and I am Roman.
Exactly.
So the only one that can remember.
Okay, then you can
there
say
seems
it.
to be an apocalyptic dimension to your work. The end is nigh, when you sing, if the Bible is right, the world will explode. You think things have changed and people are crazy and times are strange. Is this a particularly bad time we're living in? I mean, besides it being the Stone Age, Silicon Age, you know?
I don't
Do you feel
know.
out of
One's
time
bad
or
as
out of place?
I don't know. I mean, who knows?
Do you go to religion for comfort? Do you go to some sort of meditative state?
Well, I try. I mean, who would I be if I didn't try?
You read the Bible?
Of course. I mean, who doesn't?
Yeah.
You write the Bible. Not
Yeah.
Do you read Shakespeare?
Hmm.
Do you read Shakespeare?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's
in
better?
In one of your records, you are referring a lot to old lines from old movies, Empire Burlesque. Did you read those writers? Hammett, Chandler, for instance?
Did I read them?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Just on all the movies.
I know what you mean, but I think I just saw the movies.
But music, do you listen to a lot of music nowadays?
Mm-hmm. Some, yeah. Not any more than I ever did.
Do you listen to any new music, or is it all?
I don't know, like who's new?
You've been singing
I mean,
a lot of Stanley Brothers covers on your shows. When I saw you in Horsens Theatre last year, you played Hallelujah, I'm Ready to Go.
Me? Yeah, you
played.
Oh yeah, but those aren't new songs.
I know, but those are old
Yeah.
songs. But what is so special about the Stanley Brothers?
Well, you know, it's like the old thing. If somebody has to tell you, then you never know. Yeah.
Sometimes when you're standing with the guitar on stage, it reminds me of some of the old Elvis Presley poses from 1955, 56. Can you relate to that?
No, I
Some pictures are. It's very similar to some of the things.
Well, is that a compliment or?
Yes, a compliment.
Oh, what is?
But you Elvis had a strong influence on you.
He did. Growing up, he did. Yeah.
When he made a beautiful recording of your song "Tomorrow Is a Long Time."
Yeah.
Do you remember how you reacted to that? Circumstances around.
Oh well, you know, what can you say? You know, when somebody like that, you know, records a song, I'm sure any songwriter would feel, you know, intensely gratified.
Why aren't you playing any songs from Love and Theft live yet?
Well, there's no point to it because.
Not tomorrow?
No way.
No way?
No, you won't hear any of those
There's going to be
songs.
12 people in the audience who know the songs.
Yeah, exactly.
But some of the old folk songs that you play, probably not more than 12 people in the audience have heard.
That's true. This is true.
Mm-hmm. So what's the difference?
There is a difference. I'm not really free to say it right now, but there's a. If you know the songs on this record and you know the songs that nobody's heard before, then you would know. You would know how to tell the difference.
There's almost a religious feeling within your hardcore fans about it. How do you feel about that?
I don't really feel like I have any hardcore fans. You know, I mean, I just don't. There's some people who do. I really just don't. We have a few people who see an abundance amount of shows, but we don't think of them as hardcore fans.
But the religious,
Huh?
the religious feeling.
Well, what religion are they? I mean, if they are, what sacrifices do they make, and to who? Do they sacrifice these hardcore religious fans? Do they have? Do they? If they do, then we have hardcore religious fans. And I would like to know where and when they do make their sacrifices, because I want to be there.
Somebody once told me that your collected work is like the Bible because everything is in there somewhere.
Well, that's that without, you know, goes without saying.
A fortnight ago, I made an interview with Leonard Cohen, in which he told me, when I asked him that reclaiming to himself the fact of being a poet was too much of a burden and too much of a responsibility. Do you agree with that in your case?
I know what he was trying to say, and he's right.
You signed that.
Yeah.
There are quite a few books published about you. Do you read?
Do I read?
Biographies?
Do I read the biographies of myself? I hadn't read any really since that Bob Shelton book, which came out. I knew him. I don't know these other people.
Did you like it? Did you like it?
And it was. It's difficult reading about oneself because in your own mind things really didn't go. They don't appear that way. They didn't happen that way. The way it seems. It seems very. It seems like we're reading about other people, fictitious. And if it's going to be fictitious, well, then where is all the good stuff? Like the stuff.
Have you had any temptation to write about,
Me?
about your life?
Yeah, I have, and I will.
Are you in the process of doing that?
Mm-hmm.
They just translated tarantula in French, which is a scary concept.
Mm-hmm.
Was the fact does the ambition of being a poet that writes, as opposed to song and dance man? Did you get it out of the way with tarantula, or was that something that you sort of said, okay, I've done that?
Oh, I think that's a particular instant, and that things were running wild at that point, and it never was, my intention to write a book, But I think didn't Lennon write a book or something?
Yeah, in his own right.
Something like that. Well, I had a manager who, when asked, well, he writes all these songs. What else does he write? And he might have said, well, what do you got? And they said, well, does he write books? And he might have said, of course he does. And they said, well, we would like to publish one. Well, I think it was one of those kind of things, where he
arranged the whole thing and
then it was up to me to write the book, and it was never anything that I consciously set out to do. But he did that. On different occasions. He had me on a television show of being an actor, whereas I didn't know anything about it until the day I appeared. I thought I was going to sing, and these things would happen back in the early part of the last century.
But the fact the poet...
It's a long time ago, isn't it?
Ages ago.
But you were willing to comply with that?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
TV sitcom.
Huh?
You just did this TV sitcom in America, Dharma and Greg, I think.
Dharma and Greg?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did that.
I did.
Why?
Oh, I don't know. I wasn't doing anything, and I know the guy who was writing it.
Was it fun?
Yeah. Well, I mean, well, why wouldn't it have been?
There was a rumor about you doing a variety show on some television.
That's just a rumor.
Because that seemed like the craziest thing.
I know.
The things that you're writing now, is that a sort of a memoir?
It is.
Are you having any recent plans for publication of that? Is it coming quite soon?
It will be.
Next year?
Well, I think it will be published, as I'm told, in a article form, but as a book. but articles because they're ongoing, and that's about as much as
About your own life.
yeah.
Is that the only thing you're writing? Are you thinking of writing any other fiction?
No, I'm not writing any fiction.
Does the fact that you wrote your own memoirs has an influence of the songs you play on stage?
Well, that's interesting you say that because a lot of the memoirs they use as a starting point certain songs. Yeah, and I find that that's a good way to get into unlock a lot of memories and things.
Yeah. Are you writing on the road?
I'll write ideas, but I won't really develop them on the road. But I'll write big blocks from where I want to get to.
But you have not read any of the biographies after Robert Shelton?
Well, I don't know. I mean, were there? Have there been any?
Oh yes.
There's been like 7 here.
Yeah.
This year on the very thick one. Robert Shelton.
I'll have to see. I mean, I'm not aware there were any. Oh.
Do you feel that the time? Why do you feel that the time was right? The time is right now for you to reflect upon your past, or were you like preparing it for years?
Oh, I think in this kind of stuff that I'm writing, I think it was just finding the right way to get into it, rather than make it some kind of self-serving story of my particular past. It doesn't come off that way. Or it comes off that way, but it doesn't. But it's dissimilar in a lot of ways. I can do it because I'm a famous person, so I use that fame because a lot of things I talk about or I write about, other people know about anyway. So with a person like myself, the process of doing it this way works.
Do you find it exhilarating, this writing as opposed to the more deconstructed way of writing the songs that you were describing? Is this something, a new exercise that sort of...
No, I don't really think about it one way or another. I mean, I'm not making a real attempt to do this. I just do it like almost in spare time,
Is there any phase in your life that you see as a very difficult phase, especially difficult?
Any phase in my life that I see as difficult? I'm sure there's been many, but huh?
The most difficult.
The most difficult. Oh man.
Press conferences.
No, there have been a lot of tricky parts, where you have to assume a different character in order to survive.
What are you thinking of? What phases? What years?
Well, basically, you have to surrender your ambitions at a certain point. If in order to get to where you need to be.
We're going to have time for just a few more questions. So.
That was a good one. I know.
What kind of ambitions did you ever surrender?
Well, that's what you're gonna have to find out.
In one of those books or articles, or somewhere, said that you are probably happier in the tour bus than in any of your 17 homes. Is that correct?
Yeah, and well, the buses, they're becoming quite luxurious now. But I'm pretty happy. I mean, as far as happy goes, as far as feeling at home goes, I can't say I don't feel at home most anywhere.
You feel at home almost?
Probably, yeah. I mean, I feel at home, and I feel, when I'm not there. It's not like I'm longing for anything that's not presently where I'm at.
What's it like being Bob Dylan nowadays? Is it easier than it was before?
I'm not the one to ask. You know, that's a philosophical question for philosophical matters.
Have you tried being someone else?
You ever tried being someone else? I'm sure, but you know, we all try to be someone else when we're starting from point zero.
Bob, you mentioned earlier on that some of the stuff from the past you don't really want to listen to that much. You don't go back and listen to your old albums. Yeah, if this autobiographical stuff you're writing via journals or whatever, you say the entry is the songs.
Mm-hmm.
So in which case you've been forced to go back. It's like somebody getting the greatest hits together and collaborating with other companies.
Yeah.
So in that way, have you looked back at some of the Jesus that was good?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm only looking at it from an angle that maybe it's never occurred to me before to look at it. A lot of the things that happen to us, we just seem to go through without ever wondering if there a purpose to go from this to that, or why did this happen? You know, without could this have happened if that didn't happen? And if this seemed so bad at the time, why it led to something so beneficial in the long run? You know, so it's written from a variety of angles, really, and it interests me to write it, but I'm not painstakingly doing it now.
Which, looking back on your 43 albums, which ones do you think are the most successful artistically, seen from Bob Dylan's point of view?
Most successful, you know, I never listened to them. I'm sure they are all successful in their way, and I'm sure they all are failures in their own way. I don't think...
But you express great discontent with producers, and we talked about a lot of theft. You were expressing discontent with the way you've been produced, but some of them must hold up better than others, in your own opinion, even though you don't listen to them that much.
I don't listen to them because I never feel that the songs have been perfected. You know, and I used to have a problem, I don't anymore, with working on some record album where a song might have been recorded, but I didn't particularly think it had been recorded very well, or the right way, or the way I hear it in my mind, or for many myriad reasons. And you know, 6 months or maybe 4 months or whenever, then the song as it exists gets out on a you know, it by people you trust, make copies, and they put it out there for the public to hear. And I feel like that's happened too much in my case. So, well, just with people that, you know, we have no reason to distrust at the time. So people, you know, I've been asked, you know, like, well, how come you're such a bad judge of your own material? You don't put the best stuff on your record. Well, I don't know who judges what the best stuff is and not, but basically, you know, I'm not judging material. I just don't. I would love to put certain things on. I just don't think that we're recorded right. And then once it gets out, I'm not really that keen on going in and re-recording it, except on this record that you all just heard. Yeah, like we had that on the Time Out of Mind record, but it wasn't recorded particularly well, and you know, thanks God it never got out, so we went and re-recorded it again. But something like that would never have happened 10 years ago. You'd have probably all heard the trash version of it, and I never would have re-recorded it.
So does that mean you take more care in making?
Well, to take more care, you just don't trust anybody. I mean, that's basically. I mean, that's that simple.
Do you think that sometimes some records need a second chance? Like, apparently there was a remixed version of Street Legal that came out maybe 2 years ago. And do you think maybe that some of these albums were overlooked by because they came out at a time when people were interested in something else than Bob Dylan? Certainly Street Legal had, you know...
Well, I don't know about Street Legal. Probably didn't. There were probably other artists who were being featured in, you know, in the media, and the cultural landscape was a little different back then. Probably. I wouldn't know. I know that I've always been with the same record company, and they probably tried everything to sell it, and it probably wasn't what people wanted to hear at that time. Now I'm going to go see the Coliseum.
And see if the streets are full of rubble.
Exactly. Gentlemen, pleased to meet you. All right. Nice to meet you.